Even though Hollywood has a reputation for being a place of glitz, celebrity, and boundless opportunity, the industry has a shadowy side. The business has a rigid code of behavior and image demands hidden behind the glamorous red carpets and dazzling lights. Actors face serious and sometimes career-ending repercussions when they break certain boundaries, whether via scandalous actions, provocative remarks, or legal issues. For some, the inevitable consequence of falling out of favor is a lifetime ban from the field. These once famous performers are now permanently crippled by blacklisting, social exclusion, and missed chances. This list provides a sobering look at the delicate nature of fame and the high cost of celebrity behavior by exploring some of the most famous actors excluded from Hollywood's inner circle for different reasons. Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was a major player in the late 90s and early 2000s acting scene, earning the moniker Hollywood Hunk at that time. His most famous roles are Rick O'Connell in The Mummy movie and George of the Jungle, featuring his magnetic performance. Fraser became famous and wealthy because he combined tough charisma, comic timing, and action hero charisma. But in the years that followed, his career plummeted. There was a public accusation of groping by Philip Burke, the ex-president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, HFPA, made by Fraser in 2018 over a lunch in 2003. The discovery rocked the industry. After the event, Fraser saw a significant drop in his career prospects. At some point in your professional life, you may find that your phone stops ringing and wonder why. Among the several possible explanations, might this have been one? Regarding his lengthy period of professional seclusion, he said, "I believe it was," in an interview. Although Fraser's brave choice to come out was timed to coincide with a larger reckoning in Hollywood, the emotional and professional repercussions he encountered were significant. However, Fraser has recently started a much-needed career revival, receiving praise from critics and newfound exposure. Rose McGowan. The late 1990s were a breakout decade for activist and actress Rose McGowan, who starred in blockbuster films including Scream as the iconic Tatum Riley. She claims that Harvey Weinstein, a renowned producer in Hollywood, sexually abused her around that period. McGowan mainly stayed quiet about the event for years because of the unwritten conventions of an industry known for shielding its elite and a purported court settlement. However, Hollywood started treating her differently once she spoke up and challenged Weinstein's dominance. She said, "The door started closing" when asked about the abrupt drop in acting jobs and promotions she had received. Opposition, doubt, or flat-out rejection often greeted her forthrightness. The career and emotional penalties didn't stop McGowan from becoming a leading voice in the #MeToo movement. Because she was brave enough to speak out against Hollywood's taboo culture, many others have been able to do the same. Even though McGowan's acting career was never the same, she rebranded herself as a victim advocate, author, and activist, fighting against systematic abuse and calling for more responsibility in the entertainment industry. Randy Quaid. Hey there, National Lampoon's Vacation Cousin Eddie. How you doing? Unfortunately, Randy Quaid's career took a disturbing turn after he became a respected comedy actor, recognized for his quirky charisma and unforgettable performances. Rumor has it that Quaid turned the set of The Merry Housewives of Windsor into a hellhole in 2007 due to his unpredictable conduct. His unprofessional behavior came to light when people complained about his alleged verbal abuse and unethical handling of coworkers. His wife, Evie Quaid, allegedly sent disruptive and nasty emails to cast and crew members, further inflaming the situation and crossing obvious boundaries of professionalism and civility. Thus, the circumstance led to an official inquiry by the union representing stage players, the Players Equity Association. As a result of the investigation, Quaid was barred from the union, fined $81,000 for his and his wife's behavior, and sacked from the production. This is a harsh punishment that is seldom meted out. The entertainment business essentially began blacklisting him after this. Fans were perplexed about how the once celebrated actor had fallen from popularity in the following years, as Quaid's odd public conduct and legal difficulties further isolated him from Hollywood. Cory Feldman. All things considered, Cory Feldman's blacklisting is a horrible event. Feldman became a household name in the 1980s because of his roles in critically acclaimed films such as Stand By Me, The Lost Boys, and The Goonies. He became a teen idol because of his charisma and skill. Feldman, however, was dealing with severe mental turmoil behind the scenes. When he was younger, he made public accusations that he was a victim of a pedophilia network in Hollywood. However, both the business and the public at large either disregarded or downplayed these allegations. To dull the agony and the betrayal, Feldman began his lengthy and evident struggle with addiction by turning to narcotics. His acting career took a nosedive due to his drug misuse problems and his vocal efforts to reveal Hollywood's darker truths. Feldman started to lose his role because people stopped seeing him as steady and started seeing him as worrisome. The harm to his career was done, even if he eventually sought sobriety and kept fighting for abuse victims. The narrative of his blacklisting, which was influenced by a culture of silence, addiction, and pain, is still one of the dark chapters in Hollywood's past. Dalton Trumbo. Writer Dalton Trumbo was one of the most famous people blacklisted from Hollywood after being named as one of the notorious Hollywood 10, a group of filmmakers and writers who declined to appear before the House Un-American Activities Committee during the Red Scare. In 1950, Trumbo was convicted of contempt of Congress and sentenced to prison for his public refusal to refute or repudiate his purported ties to the Communist Party. This effectively ended his career in the entertainment sector. Despite these limitations, Trumbo continues writing behind aliases and fronts others claim his work. Oscars were bestowed upon two of these clandestinely written screenplays, Roman Holiday, 1953, and The Brave One, 1956, without Trumbo's name appearing anywhere. The facts didn't start to come to light until the early 1960s. Otto Preminger, who directed Exodus, boldly thanked Trumbo, and actor-producer Kirk Douglas did the same with Spartacus, therefore shattering the blacklist. Once the shame was lifted, Trumbo's name was retroactively added to his ghost-written works by the Writers Guild of America. This further cemented his position as one of Hollywood's most gifted and resilient screenwriters. MoNique. Even though MoNique's Oscar-winning performance as Mary Lee Johnston in 2009's Precious was strong, she still lost the battle in Hollywood in many ways. Despite the praise, her reluctance to participate in more press appearances without payment caused controversy. MoNique insisted that she could decline the offer to travel for the film's promotion, particularly because she had already met all her contractual duties. This position, however, ran counter to what the film's producers and the industry at large had hoped for. Her alleged lack of involvement in the film's awards campaign was one factor that led to her being secretly blacklisted, according to director Lee Daniels. As a result of the discrepancy between MoNique's demands, which were seen as both principled and uncooperative, and the studio's advertising techniques, her relationship with many in the Hollywood industry became strained. Her professional advancement came to a standstill, and she was eventually left out of important initiatives. In a subsequent interview, MoNique discussed the discrimination she encountered in the music business due to her race and gender, saying that she was punished for expressing her values. Her story has ignited meaningful discussions around professionalism, equality, and the treatment of those who do not adhere to Hollywood's unspoken norms. Sandra Lockach. Sandra Lockach had a bright Hollywood career until she received a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination in 1968 for her part in The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. She co-starred with Clint Eastwood in many films spanning the 1970s and 1980s, and their 14-year relationship brought her widespread fame. Nonetheless, they broke up amicably, and Lockach said the aftermath was disastrous for her career. In 1989, Lockach sued Eastwood for palimony, claiming that he had emotionally and financially betrayed her and interfered with her capacity to work. She believed that influential players in the business had blacklisted her. For her, Eastwood negotiated an agreement with Warner Brothers to create films. Included in a settlement are studios. At first glance, it seemed like Lockach would save her directorial career with this deal. Warner Brothers never gave any of the 30 screenplays she submitted any real consideration. Therefore, the agreement turned out to be a hoax. After Lockach filed a second lawsuit for fraud, the matter was resolved by an out-of-court settlement. Her experience warns about the unseen ways in which power dynamics in Hollywood may ruin an otherwise successful career. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was a Hollywood A-lister and household figure because of his role as the charismatic lead in the smash comedy 2.5 Men. Sheen was allegedly the highest-paid actor on television when he was at his prime, earning $1.8 million per episode. A sharp change occurred, nevertheless, at the beginning of 2011. Accusations of spousal violence surfaced, and Sheen had just checked into treatment for drug misuse. Amid all this upheaval, he made some very outlandish and controversial comments in interviews, which were widely reported, directed against Chuck Lorre, the co-creator of 2.5 Men. He caused problems on and off set with his actions. Regardless of the backlash, Sheen boldly asked for a 50% increase on top of his record-breaking pay. He was booted from the program after more pressure on the studio and network caused by his irrational conduct and unexpected outbursts. A rapid and precipitous decline ensued. Sheen went from being a top-tier talent to almost being blacklisted. No one in the business dared to deal with him anymore. His tragic downfall warns about the perils of letting one's guard down and destroying one's reputation in a field where it is paramount. Kirk Cameron. Kirk Cameron became famous in the 1980s and 1990s because of his role as a lovable child star on Growing Pains and Life, Father Like Son, 2 hit television series. But Cameron has now turned his attention from Hollywood A-listers to the public proclamation of his strong Christian convictions. He has become more outspoken about his religion and often incorporates it into his public appearances, social media, and other endeavors. He is well known for advocating conservative political and religious ideas. His beliefs have divided and scandalized many in the entertainment business and the general public, yet some respect his steadfastness to his principles. Because of his controversial views, he has had less success in more conventional film and television parts. Cameron has been almost blacklisted from participating in major Hollywood movies due to casting directors and producers' perception of his vocal Christian activity as a liability. He has shifted his focus to producing and speaking for Christian-oriented, faith-based films and events. It is clear from Cameron's career history that performers encounter difficulties when their principles and views clash with the ever-changing politics and standards of the entertainment business. Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr became a divisive figure in Hollywood due to her strong support for President Trump and her identification as a Republican. Barr gained devoted followers and alienated many with her fearless and sometimes controversial demeanor, which pushed the limits of public conversation. In 2018, ABC revived her popular series, Roseanne, hoping to cash in on nostalgia while tackling modern challenges, and her political beliefs became a prominent focus. Sadly, the renaissance did not last. A racist remark directed against Valerie Jarrett, a former top aide to President Obama, caused Barr to provoke controversy. Many people thought the tweet was crude and disrespectful. Following this, ABC quickly shelved the Roseanne revival, and the network president publicly blasted Barr's actions as abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. The reaction was rapid and strong, and Barr's tenure in mainstream television ended suddenly. The episode clearly illustrates how controversial political speech and insensitive comments may result in immediate career ramifications in the modern entertainment business, even though she made many attempts to return and expressed regret. Tippi Hedren. The iconic Tippi Hedren had a tumultuous and challenging relationship with Alfred Hitchcock, who directed her in The Birds and Marnie. Hedren has publicly stated her distaste for working on those films because of Hitchcock's frequent and unwelcome sexual attempts, notwithstanding her renowned performances. Hedren claims that after her clear rejection of Hitchcock, he responded in ways quite harmful to her. He said he told everyone on set not to talk to her, making the set toxic for her to work in. Even outside of the set, Hitchcock had an impact on the studio. Rumor has it that he prevented Universal Pictures from nominating her performance in Marnie for an Academy Award, limiting her exposure. Also, rumor has it that Hitchcock blacklisted Hedren in the business, making sure she didn't get any jobs for over 2 years after they worked together. Years later, when asked about her suffering, Hedren said, "If this had happened today, I would be a wealthy woman," illustrating how the tides have changed due to more people being aware of abuse and survivors being empowered. Her life is a stark reminder of the poisonous misuse of power that has loomed over Hollywood's golden age for far too long. Isaiah Washington. The career of Isaiah Washington, a regular on Grey's Anatomy, underwent a precipitous and preventable nosedive because of his behavior, even though he was not officially banned from Hollywood. With his compelling and multidimensional portrayal of Dr. Preston Burke, Washington contributed much to the show's early popularity. His 2007 on-set confrontation with one of his Grey's Anatomy co-stars, in which he used a homophobic slur, had a devastating effect on his career. The event caused quite a stir, and the public's reaction led to his immediate dismissal from the show. Even more devastating was Washington's use of insults many times during his Golden Globe speech, which only further damaged his reputation in the profession and among fans. A permanent stain appeared on his professional reputation due to his failure or reluctance to completely apologize and recognize the damage that had been done. Although Washington has maintained his erratic behavior, many feel that his professional prospects were unfairly and prematurely ended. His life shows how damaging words and actions, mainly when aimed toward minority groups, may ruin careers in Hollywood, where public perception and responsibility are key. Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's dramatic and extensively documented fall from grace in Hollywood began with a very successful acting and directing career, culminating in controversies. Gibson was once a superstar, but his image plummeted after several problematic occurrences. He was famous for his iconic appearances in films like Braveheart and for directing the critically acclaimed films like The Passion of the Christ. His startling anti-Semitic tirade was discovered after his 2006 DUI arrest, which caused widespread public and industry censure and anger. His reputation in Hollywood took a significant hit after this and other contentious outbursts, such as claims of domestic violence and racially hostile remarks. While Gibson's 2017 war picture, Hacksaw Ridge, garnered several Oscar nominations and helped reestablish some respect for his directing abilities, the industry has been hesitant to accept him again completely. Many studios, performers, and producers still hesitate to work with him because of his history of bad conduct. Gibson's biography is a sobering reminder of how easily a lauded career can be ruined by scandal and how tough it is to win back the faith of Hollywood fans when they've lost it. Ceil Green. After the release of Forget You in 2010, Ceil Green shot to fame. His infectious song became a smashing success, propelling him to stardom and landing him a coveted position as a judge on the famous singing competition, The Voice. Even at the height of his fame, Green had many admirers who considered him a major player in the entertainment industry. But after a string of very divisive and insulting tweets in which he made painfully inappropriate comments about delicate subjects like rape and homosexuality, his career plummeted. The reaction was harsh and swift. His TV program was canceled, and he was removed from the judging panel of The Voice as a result of public outcry and pressure from fans and industry insiders. It became much more difficult for Green to schedule shows and get endorsements, as several venues, sponsors, and promoters distanced themselves from him. For ethical and financial reasons, he cannot continue his successful music career in the mainstream of Hollywood and the entertainment industry at large. Particularly in the current socially sensitive environment, Ceil Green's story demonstrates how fast popular and professional support for musicians may go when they exceed generally acknowledged boundaries of decency. Thora Burch. During her career, Thora Burch was acclaimed for her roles as an endearing child star, most notably in the 1993 cult film Hocus Pocus. As she entered her teenage and adult years, she landed increasingly significant parts thanks to the acclaim she received for her innate skill and charisma on screen. However, Burch's career started falling behind the scenes due to factors she couldn't control. There was an atmosphere of tension and anger on set as rumors spread that her father had violently assaulted a co-star. As a result of this occurrence, producers and studios became more cautious about working with Burch, which hurt her image. The relationship had significant career ramifications, although Burch was not to blame for her father's actions. Filmmakers and casting directors were hesitant to recruit her because they were worried about the potential chaos and drama that might ensue. This caused a precipitous decline in what may have been a thriving career. Over time, Burch began gravitating toward smaller projects and indie films, abandoning her affiliation with Central Hollywood. In the image-conscious entertainment world, her tale serves as a sobering reminder of how elements beyond an actor's control, particularly those about family, may suddenly halt promising careers. Jim Cavisel. Jim Cavisel used to be a mainstay in the Hollywood scene, consistently advancing his career with a string of successful parts. It all changed in 2004 when Mel Gibson, the filmmaker, gave him the divisive and challenging part of Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ. Particularly controversial and divisive was the film's R-rated depiction of Christ's agony, which garnered widespread condemnation. There was a lot of pushback against the people involved because critics said the film was too violent and encouraged anti-Semitic views. Gibson had warned Cavisel that taking the character may get him blacklisted in Hollywood. Still, the actor was so committed to the film's message that he ignored the advice and accepted the role. In the years that followed, Cavisel saw a drop in mainstream possibilities. Some people in the business were afraid to be associated with the actor because of the film's divisive reputation. His connection with Hollywood's mainstream circles became more problematic after The Passion of the Christ, yet he continued to work in cinema and television. Working in a business that is so attuned to public and political forces can be pretty dangerous, as Cavisel's experience shows. Vince Vaughn. Hit films such as Wedding Crashers, Old School, and Dodgeball established Vince Vaughn as a comic force in Hollywood. He was famous for his easygoing charisma and clever delivery. In the early 2000s, he was a consistent moneymaker because the audience adored his outrageous, outsized personas. Despite his comedic success, trying more dramatic or serious parts proved challenging for Vaughn. Some thought he failed to fully transform into the serious detective he is known for in the highly acclaimed series True Detective, while others praised his portrayal. Vaughn had already had difficulties in his professional life before he publicly voiced unpopular opinions, such as the idea that school shootings might be prevented by arming educators or legalizing weapons in schools. His views on gun control put him at conflict with many of Hollywood's most powerful people. Instead of a sharp drop due to a single incident or event, Vaughn's professional collapse was more gradual, characterized by blunders and lost chances. His life shows how public opinion, typecasting, and individual beliefs can impact an actor's success and legacy in the entertainment industry. Stacy Dash. Once upon a time, Stacy Dash was a popular TV face, whether on Clueless or The Game. Her portrayal of Dion in Clueless became legendary, and she had a successful acting career in the 90s and 2000s. But when Dash became more outspoken about her conservative political beliefs, which often clashed with Hollywood's mostly liberal culture, her career took a nosedive. She, too, had conflicts with the entertainment business due to her outspoken ideas, much like Kirk Cameron. Her calls to end Black History Month were one of her most divisive positions, since they seemed to ignore the significance of honoring Black history and culture. Furthermore, Dash was heavily chastised for making inappropriate and out-of-touch public remarks about the transgender population. Her views turned many fans and industry insiders off, eventually excluding her from major projects. Stacy Dash's career worsened when her vocal political and social opinions successfully shut doors in Hollywood. Her story shows how acting against cultural norms may hurt an actor's chances of making it big in today's entertainment industry. Katherine Higgel. Katherine Higgel became famous in the mid-2000s because of her roles in Knocked Up and Grey's Anatomy, two popular medical dramas. Many people looked up to her then and considered her a Hollywood princess. As a result of her endearing personality and hilarious timing, she became one of the most beloved actresses of her time and received rave reviews from critics and fans alike. There were rumblings that she was a pain to collaborate with, however, as her fame increased. Rumor has it that Higgel would often lock herself in her trailer during shooting, to avoid interacting with crew members over creative differences. She allegedly caused tension with authors, directors, and producers by demanding last-minute outfit changes and publicly questioning and criticizing screenplay decisions. Studios were afraid to recruit her due to her reputation, which was shaped by her actions. The turning point occurred when Higgel publicly withdrew her nomination for an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy, claiming that the script was not strong enough, a hurtful and disrespectful gesture. Over time, this resulted in a Hollywood blacklist. Her once promising trajectory dropped dramatically, and even though she kept working, the high-profile parts dried up. She exemplifies that behind-the-scenes connections and reputation may be as meaningful as raw skill when maintaining a career. Justin Bieber. While Justin Bieber has mellowed down recently, his wild side was on full display when he first became famous. Justin Bieber's songs and charisma caused him to explode onto the scene as a young pop phenomenon, and he swiftly won over the globe. But his actions away from the platform quickly became contentious. His unpredictable and sometimes careless behavior was a common source of news coverage, since he had several brushes with the authorities and even resisted arrest. Public fights, reckless driving, and vandalism tarnished the young star's image. Producers and casting directors were hesitant to work with someone whose private life was so turbulent and troubled by legal issues. Thus, these scandals effectively ended any hope of a successful acting career. Amazingly, Bieber's music career persevered through all of these difficulties. He has been working hard to rehabilitate his public image recently by releasing albums that topped the charts and going on sold-out tours. Although Justin Bieber's acting dreams never came true, his experience shows that public image and decisions may significantly impact one's career trajectory in the entertainment business. However, overcoming setbacks and achieving success in other fields is still possible with hard work and skill. Dorothy Parker. The incisive genius of Dorothy Parker, a legendary screenwriter and comedian of the 1930s and 1940s, forever changed Hollywood. Parker was a noteworthy film contributor, known for her intelligent language and razor-sharp wit. Her notable films include Saboteur, Trade Winds, Susie, and the classic A Star is Born, which Alfred Hitchcock directed. She became a revered member of Hollywood's creative elite because of her unique voice's impact on some of that period's most memorable cinematic moments. But once World War II ended, with heightened political tensions and anti-communist feeling in the U.S. on the increase, Parker's career took a sharp and ugly turn, and she was accused of being a communist sympathizer. This stigmatization was severe, and it was often based on little more than suspicion and association. Parker was almost blacklisted, making it very difficult for her to get employment in the business, much like many other authors and artists of the period. Her once promising career came to a sudden halt due to the Hollywood blacklist, which the paranoia and terror of the Red Scare fueled. Even though Dorothy Parker went on to publish in other places, her narrative exemplifies the tragic and unfair effect that political witch hunts had on many brilliant people in the United States at the time. Martin Lawrence. There was a time when Martin Lawrence was on the rise as a comedy superstar thanks to his magnetic personality and cutting-edge jokes. A high-profile position that may have further enhanced his career was an invitation to host an edition of Saturday Night Live in 1994. But things took a turn for the worse when Lawrence, in his opening monologue, made some comments about feminine hygiene that many people thought disgusting and improper. The portion was removed from the broadcast due to the immediate and intense criticism. An uncommon and revealing punishment for a comic of Lawrence's prominence was his banishment from ever hosting Saturday Night Live again. Unfortunately, this occurrence was typical. Lawrence has alienated several members of his audience and the entertainment industry with his many unpleasant statements, including homophobic ones. These scandals tarnish his career and reputation, notwithstanding his achievements in cinema and stand-up comedy. The case of Martin Lawrence shows how, particularly with repeated insensitive remarks, boundary-pushing humor may cross borders and have enduring career ramifications. Lena Horn. During the heated Red Scare in Hollywood in the late 1940s and 1950s, the famous actress and singer Lena Horn was targeted by anti-communist hate speech. The accusation that she, like many other artists of the day, had communist sympathies was enough to ruin her image and put an end to her career. Blacklisting was a prevalent strategy for excluding individuals in the entertainment sector who were believed to have communist political views at this time of widespread fear. Nonetheless, Horn officially distanced herself from communism and immediately disavowed any relationship with it, unlike several of her colleagues. She was able to reestablish herself in Hollywood and beyond with this wise maneuver. Death of a Gunfighter, 1969, brought Horn back into the limelight in the late 1960s after she had been under political scrutiny and had career difficulties for a while. She was able to triumph over the blacklist because of her ability and determination, and her story is an inspiring one of standing firm in the face of unfair political persecution. Lena Horne's career was a testament to her creative genius and resilience during a difficult period in Hollywood. Natalie Mains. In 2003, during a London performance, Dixie Chicks lead singer Natalie Mains openly denounced then-President George W. Bush and the war in Iraq, which caused tremendous controversy. Her direct comments offended many of her American followers, which caused a strong reaction. Shortly after, the Dixie Chicks were banned by radio stations nationwide, who removed their songs from playlists and thus halted the band's career in mainstream country music. To defuse the situation, Mains first apologized, but in 2006, she withdrew that apology, remaining steadfast in her original position. Public opinion was more divided, and controversy resurfaced due to this decision. Natalie Mains remains a divisive character in the music business, even though the Dixie Chicks finally recovered, collecting Grammys and regaining a devoted fan following. Even now, her politically radical beliefs are divisive, and she has the skepticism of those in the more conservative country music scene. The danger of speaking out and the possibility of perseverance in the face of criticism are both shown by Mains' experience, which emphasizes the difficulties artists have when their political beliefs conflict with their commercial vocations. Lloyd Bridges. Lloyd Bridges, the father of Beau and Jeff Bridges, was a prolific American actor, starring in over 150 films and TV shows. Bridges had a tough time in the 1950s when he was momentarily blacklisted in Hollywood, despite his massive collection of work. This followed his confession that he had been a member of the notoriously communist Actors Laboratory Theater, which he had joined during the height of the Red Scare. Bridges was briefly hampered in his career prospects because of this relationship, since he, like many artists of the time, was suspected. Lloyd Bridges, on the other hand, did not endure a blacklisting that lasted as long as that of others. He returned to television in 1951 with a bang, making his debut in Man's First Debt. After that, Bridges reestablished himself professionally and was a household name in Hollywood for many years. His story exemplifies the resiliency of actors who persisted in their trade despite the political instability of the McCarthy period and the widespread suspicion that pervaded the entertainment business at the time. The work of Bridges and his sons, who have had long and fruitful careers, ensures that his name will endure. Josephine Baker. The groundbreaking 1927 film Siren of the Tropics starred Josephine Baker, a naturalized French citizen and pioneer in the entertainment industry, as the first black woman to hold that position in Hollywood. Beloved throughout Europe and the U.S., her trailblazing career included music, dance, and movies. However, the politically heated climate of the early 1950s would bring about serious repercussions for Baker's extreme language. Accusations of communist sympathies leveled against her in 1951 after her public criticism of a renowned American columnist were particularly weighty at the height of McCarthyism. She suffered permanent harm to her reputation in America as a result of this charge. She was then barred from working in the United States and had to leave when her work visa was canceled. After her tour ended, Baker returned to France and kept performing and advocating for civil rights. Persistent attempts and shifting political winds took place over a decade before she could re-enter the country. The incredible tenacity with which Josephine Baker persisted in pursuing her impactful career overseas in the face of political persecution is a powerful example of the Red Scare's devastating effect on artists. Snoop Dogg. The legendary rapper and cultural icon Snoop Dogg is well known for his brazen and unrepentant love of marijuana. His long history of cannabis use has been an integral aspect of his public identity, often brought up in interviews and songs. Snoop Dogg's cannabis usage has gotten him into a lot of trouble overseas. Still, he has never been banned in the U.S., where views toward marijuana are slowly becoming more tolerant. When Snoop has tried to travel abroad with marijuana or things associated with it on many occasions, he has run into legal trouble. The fact that he is related to the substance and has tried to smuggle it across borders in the past has led several nations to prohibit him from entering their territory. Many regions of the globe have stringent legal and cultural views regarding cannabis, which are reflected in these limitations. Despite these worldwide prohibitions, Snoop Dogg has launched his cannabis business and remains a prominent figure in the entertainment and entrepreneurial industries. Even if he has complete freedom of expression at home, he has to deal with nations with zero tolerance for his preferred indulgence. This exemplifies artists' difficulties when individual lifestyle choices conflict with different international rules. Orson Wells. Many people consider Orson Wells a genius and one of the most important directors in cinematic history. His revolutionary 1941 picture, Citizen Kane, is still considered a classic and is often named among the best films of all time for the trailblazing storyline and cinematic methods it used. Even though the picture was well received by critics, some people were concerned with the narrative, which was said to have been based on the life of publishing giant William Randolph Hearst. During the politically charged period of the late 1940s and early 1950s, Wells was personally investigated by the FBI for supposed links to the Communist Party, adding to the controversy surrounding the picture that went beyond Hollywood gossip. During this period, the entertainment sector was no exception to the widespread fear and distrust over possible communist influence. Wells was fortunate in the end, since the inquiry found him not guilty. Wells persevered through the criticism and kept making groundbreaking films, even though he had a rocky career due to financial and studio issues. Like many artists of the day, he struggled to reconcile the need to express himself creatively with the political anxieties of his day. Still, he stands tall in cinema history and leaves an indelible mark on the industry. Vanessa Marquez. In the 90s and 2000s, while the medical drama ER was popular, Vanessa Marquez had a recurring role as Nurse Wendy Goldman. Unfortunately, Marquez's acting career plummeted after the show's unexpected cancellation after a few seasons. Until her tragic demise in 2018, she was almost non-existent in the entertainment industry. Marquez claims that her choice to speak out against what she believed to be a culture of harassment on the set of Emergency Room, in which she singled out actor George Clooney, was the catalyst for her abrupt departure from the industry. According to Marquez, she was almost banned in Hollywood after voicing her concerns, and Clooney was complicit in preventing her from advancing her career. "I had nothing to do with casting," Clooney said firmly in response to the claims that he was involved in the show's hiring or casting choices. "I was an actor. She was deceived if she thought I had any say in her professional future. The fact that I couldn't influence her career is second only to my refusal." This dispute highlights the intricate and sometimes concealed relationships inside the entertainment business, where expressing oneself may occasionally result in substantial professional consequences. Tara Subkoff. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Tara Subkoff had several successful parts in Hollywood features, including As Good as It Gets, All Over Me, and The Last Days of Disco. Notoriety and an expanding body of work were rewards for her singularity of spirit and skill. But once she turned down Harvey Weinstein's approaches, the Hollywood mogul and convicted sex offender, her life took a dramatic turn. After this, Subkoff's acting career in mainstream cinema ended as she saw a steady decline in role opportunities. It became impossible for me to get work as an actress after this, so I had to start a new career path in Imitation of Christ, a fashion and art label. Subkoff skillfully reimagined herself as a creative entrepreneur, combining fashion and art in innovative ways after reflecting on the impact of that experience years later. Her acting career has seen a little upturn in the last few years, with fresh chances to exhibit her skills, mainly appearing in horror films. Sutkoff's story exemplifies the enduring impact of confronting influential Hollywood individuals and the strength required to persevere and reestablish oneself in such a complex field. Mera Sino. The notorious Hollywood blacklist associated with Harvey Weinstein claimed another victim, the Oscar-winning actress Mera Sino, for her work in Mighty Aphrodite. Sino said her career plummeted when she turned down Weinstein's approaches. After some thought, she said, "There may have been other factors, but I felt iced out, and that my rejection of Harvey had something to do with it." Her concerns were subsequently verified by director Peter Jackson, who revealed that Weinstein had explicitly told him to avoid Sorvino at all costs, thus reinforcing her feelings of isolation. The remarks that Jackson made about her being a nightmare to deal with were primarily seen as an attempt to tarnish her image and prevent her from being considered for future projects. One example of Weinstein's use of his enormous influence to penalize anyone who opposed his misdeeds is this intentional attempt to undermine Sorvino. Despite all that, Sorvino still works in the film and television industries. Her ordeal is a sobering reminder of the sexist culture in Hollywood and the extreme measures used by powerful males to suppress and dominate female performers. Her experience exemplifies the larger #MeToo allegations of industry-wide harassment and blacklisting. Ashley Judd. Director Peter Jackson stated in the same interview that Harvey Weinstein had blacklisted Mera Sorvino. He also disclosed that Ashley Judd had been banned similarly. While casting The Lord of the Rings, Jackson revealed that Weinstein and his crew tried to dissuade him from collaborating with the two actresses, describing them as difficult and suggesting against their participation. This, in retrospect, was all part of a larger plot to ruin the careers of women who had turned down Weinstein's advances. The effects on Ashley Judd's career were devastating. After she rejected Weinstein's advances, she sued him, claiming he had intentionally ruined her career. According to Judd, she was passed over for many prominent parts because Weinstein exploited his power to propagate nasty rumors about her in the business. Her case was a watershed event for the #MeToo movement, marking the beginning of the struggle for justice against powerful men and women who preyed on women and took advantage of their positions. Even though Judd has kept working and spoken out for victims of sexual harassment and abuse, her experience serves as a stark reminder of the devastating repercussions that Hollywood actors and actresses faced when they spoke out against abuse. Toby Maguire. Toby Maguire was in high demand as an actor in Hollywood by the early to mid-2000s. His off-screen reputation for heavy partying with a renowned group of celebrity pals didn't detract from his first fame for emotionally subtle performances in films like Wonder Boys and The Cider House Rules. After landing the central part in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, his career took off, and he became a household figure and box office sensation. Nevertheless, Maguire faded from the limelight after his part in 2013's The Great Gatsby. Some think he wanted to distance himself from the limelight to concentrate on producing, parenting, and living a tranquil life. Others believe Hollywood's opinion of him changed. Studios supposedly no longer saw him as a bankable star for big franchises or main parts, and he had become more challenging to deal with. His character was further shrouded in secrecy and controversy due to his participation in high-stakes poker games, prominently shown in Molly's Game. Despite making a short cameo as Spider-Man in Spider-Man No Way Home 2021, Maguire's career is still an interesting predicament, torn between a deliberate retreat and the possibility of silent blacklisting in the ever-changing Hollywood industry. Freddie Prince Jr. Freddie Prince Jr. was a teenage idol in Hollywood during the 90s and 2000s. Prince was set for lasting fame with his breakthrough performances in She's All That and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and as Fred in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. He was a mainstay in adolescent rom-coms and ensemble smashes because of his attractiveness, charisma, and comic timing. However, the number of main parts for Prince significantly decreased as the mid-2000s arrived. A slow, almost bewildering descent from the limelight replaced the more spectacular events of a public scandal or breakdown. Meanwhile, some think Hollywood didn't know what to do with him once he outgrew his teen idol role, while others believe he was typecast or was too old for the role. Prince decided to change his emphasis instead of fighting for relevance. Taking up scripting and embracing life beyond the limelight, he found constant employment in voiceover parts, most notably as Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels. His lengthy and happy marriage to Sarah Michelle Gellar, another celebrity of the 90s, is the most enviable thing about him. Even though Prince's Hollywood popularity has faded, he is still very much involved, happy, and well-respected in the business. Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner was about to become a Hollywood superstar in the early 2010s. He rose to fame as a teen idol thanks to his portrayal of Jacob Black in the blockbuster Twilight films, where he received accolades for his dramatic change and magnetic screen presence. His growing fame and legion of fans led many to believe he would soon become a breakthrough star. On the other hand, Lautner had a hard time finding jobs to par once the Twilight series ended. Both audiences and critics were unimpressed by his subsequent works, such as Abduction and his brief appearance on the comedy series Cuckoo. Speculation circulated amongst those in the know inside the film business that Lautner was not versatile enough to play parts that required more gravity or maturity. His career hit rock bottom due to many factors, including widespread distaste for teen-centric blockbusters and the vampire genre. Lautner withdrew from high-profile projects and essentially faded from view by the mid-2010s. The leading man's career path, which many had hoped for, never came to fruition, but he does make cameos and supporting appearances occasionally. Unfortunate timing or industry pessimism may have halted Lautner's once skyrocketing career. Jennifer Grey. The parts that Jennifer Grey played in Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off were so successful that many thought they would propel Grey to true Hollywood fame. One of the most iconic figures of the 80s, she became instantly famous for her unique looks and magnetic screen presence. But Grey had difficulty keeping up the good work as the years passed. She opted to have a nose operation in the early 1990s when her acting opportunities dried up. Despite her best efforts, the outcome was detrimental to her career since it failed to conform to Hollywood's traditional beauty standards. Even to her devoted followers, her look had been so drastically changed by the operation that she was almost unrecognizable. The transformation was so drastic that it unintentionally ruined the appearance that had brought her acclaim in the past. Grey famously said, "It was the nose job from hell," when reflecting on the effect. Although she has maintained a career in television and theater, her transformation was a noticeable and regrettable turning point. It is a cautionary tale about the image pressures in Hollywood, and she will always be known as the once famous actress nobody recognizes because of a nose job. Wesley Snipes. Among Wesley Snipes' most famous and lucrative roles were those in White Men Can't Jump, New Jack City, Passenger 57, and the Blade Trilogy, which was instrumental in establishing the current comic book genre. Snipes was undeniably a Hollywood A-lister throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, when his stardom peaked. His popularity fell as fast as it had risen, mainly due to a major gaffe. He had neglected to pay taxes. 3 charges of misdemeanor willful failure to submit federal income tax returns were brought to conviction against Snipes in 2008. According to reports, Snipes allegedly owed more than $17 million in taxes, interest, and penalties, so these allegations were severe. Consequently, he received a 3-year jail term with an additional year served for every year he failed to file. From 2010 till his release in 2013, he served his term. Although his time behind bars was brief, just 3 years, the harm was done to his career and reputation was considerably more long-lasting. He had difficulty returning to his feet following the controversy, since major studios hesitated to cast him. He has subsequently returned to the big screen in films like Dolomite Is My Name, but his career has never been the same. Paz de la Huerta. Boardwalk Empire, an HBO series about Nucky Thompson's problematic fiancée, Lucy Danziger, gave Paz de la Huerta a shot at fame. Critics have long predicted that de la Huerta would be one of Hollywood's next big stars due to her edgy character and eerie screen presence. Nevertheless, that progress was abruptly halted. While researching her impending stardom for a New York Magazine story, An odd incident involving public obscenity in a sauna was uncovered, where De La Huerta misbehaved in front of other stunned customers. The narrative further enhanced her rising reputation as a Hollywood untamed youngster. The paparazzi flocked to her ever-changing public appearances, often capturing her drunk or making a disturbance at prominent events. TMZ was among them. Her personal life started to seep into her work life, which was disappointing. Accusations of interruptions and unprofessional behavior circulated on the Boardwalk Empire production, fueling rumors of trouble. The producers ultimately opted to remove her role from the program. Instead of serving as a significant springboard for De La Huerta's acting career, it signaled the start of a protracted absence from leading parts. She has made occasional appearances since then, but the shame from her early scandals has stuck. Michael Richards. There aren't many comedians who have tripped over the razor's edge between being edgy and insulting like Michael Richards. Richards' career plummeted in 2006 after a stand-up performance at Los Angeles' Laugh Factory, despite his fame from playing Kramer on the legendary series Seinfeld. A group of African Americans in the crowd heckled Richards mid-routine. To reclaim his composure, Richards went on a rant, yelling racist insults and making references to lynching many times. The footage, captured on a smartphone, went viral and caused a national uproar. Shocking the audience, Richards abruptly exited the stage before finishing his act. There was an immediate and intense outcry. His career never recovered, even though he appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman via satellite to apologize publicly soon thereafter, with Jerry Seinfeld trying to endorse him. In stand-up comedy, Richards became a cautionary tale because he showed how one bad decision can ruin years of success. Hollywood isn't interested in giving him another shot, and he has mostly avoided the limelight since then, with a few low-key cameos here and there. Tila Tequila. In the middle of the 2000s, Tila Tequila became famous after becoming one of the first big stars on social media, with millions of MySpace fans. A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila, a bisexual dating program that aired on MTV in 2007 and became a cultural phenomenon, was the most notable opportunity that came her way after her meteoric climb to stardom on the internet. I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, in which she had a brief part the same year, hinted at the possible move into movies. A disturbing statement she made on her website in which she expressed sympathy for Adolf Hitler, however, put an abrupt end to her rapidly rising career. After claiming to have learned the truth about the war and what Hitler truly did in the post, she even went as far as to say that he was not a bad person as they have made him out to be. The reaction from the public and industry was quick and harsh. There was widespread condemnation, and her already fragile career crumbled into oblivion in an instant. She has tried many rebrands and made brief appearances in online fringe communities, but Hollywood has never embraced her return. A prime illustration of how one act of extremism may destroy a public career, her remarks were generally seen as reprehensible. Lindsay Lohan. Hits like Freaky Friday, Mean Girls, Herbie Fully Loaded, and The Parent Trap catapulted Lindsay Lohan to stardom, and she went on to become one of Hollywood's most promising young actresses. She had gone from being a child star to a cultural icon by the turn of the millennium. However, things quickly became more intense. After a vehicle accident in 2007 that went viral, Lohan checked into a Beverly Hills hospital. The event seemed to validate what many had assumed, that her personal life was getting out of hand, as toxicology testing showed the presence of illicit drugs. After that disaster, a lengthy and very public decline in fortunes started. The entertainment industry was reluctant to invest in her career after several arrests, court appearances, rehabilitation stays, and probation breaches. Lohan never quite recovered from her unsuccessful comebacks, which included a reality show and low-budget film roles. Despite her recent efforts to rehabilitate her reputation with international ventures and a Netflix film, many in the business still see the risks as higher than the rewards. Once Hollywood's it girl, Lohan turned into a cautionary tale about the dangers of fame, luxury, and wasting second chances. Paul Rubens. The offbeat performance of Paul Reubens as Pee Wee Herman enchanted audiences of all ages in the 1980s, making him one of the most popular and bizarre people in pop culture. Scandals surrounded Reubens' 1991 arrest for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater, overshadowing the character's quirky appeal. Stores quickly and severely removed Pee Wee products from their shelves in response to the criticism. Reubens was almost banished from Hollywood and the public spotlight for the rest of the decade. With his once virtuous reputation tarnished, Reubens remained out of the spotlight, occasionally appearing in small parts. Over 20 years later, in 2016, he brought Pee Wee back for the critically acclaimed Netflix original Pee Wee's Big Holiday, which brought the character to a new generation of fans. The return did not fully atone for the sins despite the positive reception. The event in the early 1990s, which ended a successful career and permanently altered an imaginative legacy, is still a watershed point for many. Jeffrey Jones. In Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Jeffrey Jones played the part of the harsh Principal Rooney, which catapulted him to fame. Nevertheless, in 2002, he was arrested for possessing improper material involving a juvenile, which had a profound and permanent impact on his career. His career in mainstream acting came to a grinding halt when this crime put him on the sex offender register. Jones found a way to get a recurring part on HBO's Deadwood, marking a short comeback to television despite the seriousness of the allegations. However, in 2010, when he was again jailed for not meeting the registration requirements, any prospect of reviving his career was shattered. He was never again going to be in the limelight in Hollywood, what with all the legal issues and public outcry. Mark Salling. Playing Noah Puck Puckerman on Glee catapulted Mark Salling to stardom. Unfortunately, he was arrested in Los Angeles in December 2015 on severe accusations related to the possession and distribution of unlawful photos of kids, which put a devastating stop to his career. His swift dismissal from the forthcoming miniseries, Gods and Secrets, directed by Adi Shankar, directly resulted from this. In a statement, the show's makers emphasized the need to safeguard children, saying, "The innocence of our planet's children is something that must be protected at all costs." Salling's career and public profile came to an end as a result of the arrest and the aftermath. Amanda Bynes. As with many other child stars before her, the star of She's the Man and The Amanda Show battled substance abuse. What led to her blacklisting from Hollywood was her public outburst on Twitter following her arrest, in which she made racy and sexually explicit comments about Drake, Rihanna, Miley Cyrus, and Jay-Z. Now, she's attempting to put her life back together by enrolling in the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles to study clothing lines. Still, she denies any genuine interest in acting. Stephen Collins. Stephen Collins was best known for his long-running role as Reverend Eric Camden on the family drama Seventh Heaven. This series positioned him as a trusted father figure to millions of viewers. However, his public image was permanently damaged in 2014 when a 2012 therapy session was leaked to the press. During that session, Collins admitted to inappropriate sexual conduct with minors, and his then-wife, actress Faye Grant, secretly recorded the audio. Once obtained by TMZ, the tape sparked immediate and widespread backlash. Though no charges were filed due to the statute of limitations and lack of criminal prosecution, the damage to Collins's reputation and career was irreversible. Hollywood reacted swiftly, projects were canceled, and he was removed from any upcoming work. According to Entertainment Weekly, Seth MacFarlane dropped Collins from the planned cast of Ted 2 soon after the story broke. Collins acknowledged his actions publicly, expressing regret, but the entertainment industry has largely cut ties with him. Since the leak, he has not taken on professional acting roles and has effectively retreated from public life. The incident marked a dramatic and final fall from grace for a once familiar television presence. Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once considered the warm, butter-loving face of Southern cooking, beloved by fans nationwide. With appearances on popular programs like Top Chef, Master Chef, Extreme Makeover, Home Edition, and even a role in Cameron Crowe's film Elizabethtown, Deen had successfully built a culinary empire. Her brand extended beyond television, including a line of cookbooks, kitchenware, and restaurant ventures that further solidified her status as a household name. However, in 2012, her career took a dramatic downturn after a former employee filed a lawsuit alleging racial and sexual discrimination within her business. During a court deposition, Deen admitted to having used a racial slur in the past and made other racially insensitive remarks. Once these comments became public, the backlash was immediate and fierce. Despite releasing multiple tearful apology videos, public sentiment shifted quickly. The Food Network, which had aired Paula's home cooking and Paula's best dishes, chose not to renew her contract. Retailers such as Walmart, Target, and QVC also severed ties with her brand. While Deen has since made small attempts to rebuild her reputation and business independently, the controversy ended her mainstream media career and significantly tarnished her public image. Kathy Griffin. In May 2017, comedian Kathy Griffin found herself at the center of a national firestorm after she posted a controversial photo of herself holding a bloody, severed mannequin head resembling then-President Donald Trump. Griffin stated the image was a satirical response to Trump's infamous remarks about journalist Megyn Kelly, in which he said she had blood coming out of her wherever. The backlash was immediate and intense. Public figures across the political spectrum condemned the image, and Griffin's professional opportunities evaporated almost overnight. CNN swiftly terminated her long-standing role as co-host of its New Year's Eve special alongside Anderson Cooper. She was also dropped from a planned endorsement deal with Squatty Potty. Griffin issued a tearful public apology, admitting the joke had gone too far. "I don't think I will have a career after this. I'm going to be honest. He broke me," she said during a press conference, expressing genuine fear for her future and safety. The fallout escalated further as venues nationwide canceled her stand-up tour, citing threats and security concerns. While she eventually staged a comeback on her terms, including a world tour and a documentary, the incident remains one of the most consequential flashpoints of her career. Robert Blake. Robert Blake's descent from beloved child actor to one of Hollywood's most notorious figures is a tragic and unsettling tale. He began his career in the 1930s as a member of MGM's Our Gang series, also known as The Little Rascals, and later gained critical acclaim as an adult with roles in films like In Cold Blood. However, his career was forever eclipsed by the 2001 murder of his wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley. Bakley was shot and killed while sitting in Blake's car outside a Los Angeles restaurant. The case quickly drew national attention, not just because of Blake's fame, but because of its bizarre circumstances and the troubled nature of the couple's relationship. In 2002, Blake was arrested and charged with Bakley's murder after two former stuntmen claimed that he had approached them about killing her. Although both men had questionable credibility due to past substance abuse, their claims were used by the prosecution to argue premeditation. Blake consistently maintained his innocence, and in 2005, he was acquitted of the criminal charges. However, a civil lawsuit filed by Bakley's family resulted in a judgment against him, ordering him to pay $30 million in damages. Though he publicly claimed to be open to returning to acting, no roles followed, and he lived the remainder of his life mainly in obscurity. Jamie Kennedy. You probably remember Jamie Kennedy from Malibu's Most Wanted or his popular hidden camera show, The Jamie Kennedy Experiment. By the early 2010s, however, his career had taken a noticeable downturn. In 2012, things hit a new low when Kennedy hosted a bizarre and chaotic New Year's Eve special broadcast exclusively on the Los Angeles CW affiliate. Meant to compete with nationally televised countdowns, the show quickly became a mess of technical glitches, uncomfortable jokes, and disorganized segments. In his opening monologue, Kennedy made a racially insensitive remark about Psy, the Korean artist behind Gangnam Style, saying, "Now when you hear the word Asian rapper, you won't just think of a little plastic bag that holds your fortune cookie." The joke was widely criticized as tasteless and offensive. The night didn't get any better. When midnight arrived, Kennedy and the production team completely missed the countdown, airing the moment nearly 10 seconds too late. Rather than apologize, Kennedy defended the debacle in a New York Times interview, insisting the show was intentionally bad, describing it as an anti-New Year's Eve show. The explanation did little to help his case. His reputation was damaged, and Kennedy's credibility in Hollywood suffered accordingly. Elisha Cuthbert. Elisha Cuthbert, best known for her breakout role in The Girl Next Door, seemed poised for major stardom after the film developed a cult following. However, despite the early buzz, the momentum she needed to become a household name never quite materialized. Subsequent roles didn't have the same impact, and she struggled to secure leading parts that would propel her into Hollywood's A-list. Over the years, Cuthbert continued to work steadily, but her projects often flew under the radar. Her most notable recent work was on Netflix's sitcom The Ranch, where she starred alongside Ashton Kutcher and Sam Elliott. The show enjoyed a loyal fan base, but after several seasons, Netflix canceled it, leaving Cuthbert without a prominent platform. Since then, her name has rarely appeared in major casting announcements or high-profile projects. While she still has talent and screen presence, it remains uncertain whether Hollywood has fully embraced her potential or if she will face an uphill battle to regain a spotlight role. Only time will tell if Elisha Cuthbert can stage a meaningful comeback or if her star will continue to fade from public view.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon